At that time, watching Min, I kept thinking.
How utterly pathetic she was. Hello everyone, it's Sam, aka Ocean Unknown, and welcome back to my channel. This is another video about the wonderful series Danganronpa Despair Time, but this time I will be analyzing one character and their impact on the story. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and let's get started!
Leave me alone, alright? I have neither the time nor patience to put up with you.
Min Jeung is one of the 16 ultimate students and contestants that were kidnapped and forced to star in the Killing Game reality show Danganronpa Despair Time by Mono TV and the mastermind of the Killing Game. Her title is the ultimate student, and her skills lie in her diligence in studying and her excellent memory. She is said to be one of the top performing students in the nation, thus earning her ultimate title and being able to enroll at Hope's Peak Academy, a school for ultimate students to grow their skills and become role models and leading members of society. Min can typically be found quietly studying and can become quite irritated if distracted from her tasks. Her birthday is July 10th, and she says she likes tarantulas and dislikes children. She is introduced into Danganronpa Despair Time in episode 3 of the prologue as the 10th person Teriko meets before the events of the Killing Game take off. Xander and Teriko walk up to Min as her nose is stuck in a textbook. As Xander and Teriko try to make small talk with her and introduce themselves, Min is still quite engrossed in her book. Xander yells at her for ignoring them and says he won't leave until she joins in on their conversation, and then she slams her book shut and says, "Alright, I understand. I'd really prefer not to be disturbed when I'm in the middle of reading, but it seems that you two aren't going to leave me alone." She introduces herself and then goes right back to reading her book. Xander gets irritated with her again, but Teriko says they'll leave after they ask her one question: if she knows anything about the situation they're currently in. Min says she didn't investigate anything or see anything suspicious, but says she's memorizing the anatomy textbook she found in the infirmary. She reveals that she can memorize the contents of multiple textbooks in one day, which confuses Xander as he sees no point in why she is studying in the dire and confusing situation they're in. Min replies saying, "You may disapprove, but it's a simple fact that I must be constantly working to hone my talent in order to maintain it. Every single bit of my free time I get is an opportunity that I can and should be using to do something productive. That is the only way I can maintain my position as the ultimate student. My school performance cannot be anything less of perfection. That's the work ethic I live by." Upon hearing Min's perfectionist and academic validation-centered work ethic, Xander is enraged as he asks Min if she does anything other than study. Min snaps back at him saying, "I don't need to prove myself to you. Just why do you think you have the right to pry into my life anyway?" Xander explains to Teriko that he's so upset because Min is a prime example to him of what's wrong with society. As Xander is the ultimate rebel, he views the education system as unhelpful and flawed, saying school causes children not to be able to see what's in front of them. Min then quickly retorts, "I can see through my bangs just fine." Xander asks Min what she plans on doing in the future and if she values her life outside of school, and then Min goes back to reading her book. After he gives a quick apology for being preachy and getting mad at Min for her talent, Xander and Teriko head off to meet the other students, and they let Min read her book. The next time we see Min in an important context is in Chapter 1, Episode 3, where she is seen baking in the kitchen with Eden and Rose. Min explains the science of baking and the Maillard process, but sadly, she commits the heinous crime of being a milk enjoyer. Ew! I'm sorry to my subscribers who are fans of milk, but I am not among you. Anyways, getting back on track after my rant about milk, Min reveals to the girls that she loves reading Wikipedia articles to learn seemingly frivolous facts, but I have to disagree with her calling these facts useless. You all have no clue how many dumb facts I know. Like, for example, did you know a majority of astronauts crave sriracha sauce when they're in space? Moving on, Teriko reassures Min that her factoids are not useless and that she finds them quite cute.
Hey, you haven't returned any. You are gay!
The girls decorate their cookies, with Teriko sloppily making her cookie look like Min, whereas Min pipes icing to draw a centipede. After Teriko drops the cake they also baked, Min says that she and Rose will clean up the mess, and Min promises that later she will scrub the floors. The cake they made, even after being dropped by Teriko, is eaten by the students in Chapter 1, Episode 5, and we see Min smile for the first time in the show. Aww. However, if you know the story of Despair Time, this moment turns very sour very fast. Teriko meets up with Xander where he stabs her. Much later, Terako wakes up in the infirmary and sees that Min is there with her. Terako quickly runs out of the infirmary to get answers, with Min chasing right after her. Terako says she needs to go back to the computer lab, but before she can, Min says that they need to talk. Before they can talk, Terako enters the computer lab and sees something completely unexpected.
Xander is dead, Terako.
At the sight of Xander's body and still suffering from a near-fatal abdomen wound, Terako falls to her knees. Min explains to her that after dinner, everyone went their separate ways, and at around 8 p.m., Veronica and Arturo found her and Xander's bodies. She continues on saying that Xander was already dead when Arturo and Veronica found him, but seeing that Terako was just unconscious, they performed emergency first aid on her in the medical bay. Continuing, she says that Terako has been unconscious for a few hours, and while unconscious, TV made the other students investigate and prepare for the Kosh trial that was going to be held very soon. Terako goes immediately into investigating while she still can, which makes Min ask this disheartening question.
Don't you care?
Don't you care about Xander? He's dead. Yet you haven't said a single word about him, except in regard to investigating. I thought that perhaps you two were friends, and I thought that you would be shocked or sad to see him like this, but you don't seem to care about him at all. Terako reveals what happened before Xander died to Min, and why she feels absolutely no sadness or remorse towards him. Min helps Terako with her investigation, but then says everyone is in the hallways because they're nervous around Terako. Before she can say why, she stops herself and says everyone is really nervous. When asked why she is with Terako, Min says the group decided that Min should be the one to look after Terako in the infirmary until she wakes up. Min offers to help Terako in her investigation of the crime scene, and they investigate everything together. This segues into Chapter 1, Episode 7, which starts with Terako asking for everyone's alibis. Min explains that the last time everyone saw Xander alive was at about 6 p.m. after they all had dinner, and his body was found at 8 p.m. She then says that from 6 to 8 p.m. she was cleaning the kitchen because Terako dropped the cake in Episode 3. When asked why it took her so long to clean the kitchen since Terako dropped the cake a couple days ago, Min quietly mumbles, "I may be a bit of a procrastinator." Also, she says that Eden and Hu were also cleaning the kitchen so they can verify her alibi. However, she wasn't in the kitchen the entire time because she took a couple of trips to the laundry room to get clean supplies.
That's called foreshadowing.
Terako goes to talk to Hu and Eden, and Hu confirms that Min, at times, came to help clean up the cake mess. After talking to everyone who was in the hallway, Min tells Terako that she forgot one last important piece of evidence: the fact that the first motive to kill would be revealed the next day. However, because Xander died, the motive was never revealed. When Terako brings up the idea that someone could have killed Xander because they found him annoying and did it out of sheer anger, Min disagrees and says she doubts anyone hated him enough to kill him. She then says, "myself included," which confuses Terako as she thought Xander and Min were on good terms. Min explains, "To be honest, that man infuriates me, with all his talk about how my talent is pointless. Education has nothing to do with my future? Has he no sense at all? I understand to some extent where he's coming from, but he knows nothing of the life I live. It's ridiculous for someone with the talent of rebel to try and force his perspective on me without considering my own point of view. Even then, I could tell he had the best intentions, misguided as they may be, and I'm sure that everyone here could tell that he had a compassionate, if not slightly reckless heart. I'm sure he wanted nothing more than to help others. To kill someone like that because of a minor slight would be incomprehensible." Terako understands why Min feels this way about Xander, but of course Terako's view on Xander is completely different because, he stabbed her? Min says, "That's how I always thought about him. My opinion on Xander has not changed since I met him. I do not consider myself a person to have their emotions easily swayed, and I didn't think you were either. So for you to have reversed your attitude on him so quickly and completely, is it only because you feel betrayed, or is there some other reason?" Terako is hesitant to say why her feelings towards Xander have changed, and Min is quick to comfort her and say it's okay if she tells her. However, before Terako can say anything, the trial to determine who killed Xander Matthews begins. At the start of the trial, Min lays down the basic facts of the trial. However, the conversation quickly deters as everyone accuses Terako of being the killer, including Min, as she says it's more probable that Terako attacked Xander first. Despite this, Min says that any possibility in this case is probable. After Terako calls herself a fool for trusting any of them, Terako defends herself on her own to prove that she didn't kill Xander. She lays down all the evidence, but a couple people still have their doubts, Min being one of them. During the scrum debate, Min is on the side with David, Hu, Ra, Jay, Levi, and Veronica that Tereko is the culprit. Min is the last to speak in the debate, asking who could have altered the crime scene and moved Tereko's body.
That's called foreshadowing.
Which is refuted by Tereko saying there has to have been a third party involved, and that third party is the killer. After the scrum debate, Min is quick to throw suspicion on Wit for being vague in his alibi, but Nico swiftly says that multiple people were alone throughout the night, so it's not just them or Wit who could have killed Xander, in which Nico name drops Min. This upsets Min as she reprimands Nico for thrusting the blame on others because as of right now, Nico is the most suspicious. After David and Eden interrupt her and Nico, Min retorts, "How can we work together knowing that one of us is the killer?" As the class moves towards discussing the strange DVD they found at the crime scene, which they deciphered originally said Charles Cuevas' motive. Min brings up the idea that there was nothing on that DVD to begin with because it wouldn't play in the computer lab or on Mono TV, and this confirms that the DVD was a fake and contained no motives whatsoever. Moving forward to episode 10, Nico brings up the concept that Xander wasn't killed by a stab wound to the neck, but was actually dead before getting stabbed, and that the neck wound was created as a decoy to throw off the other students. Min says that Tereko and Nico are contradicting themselves, but Tereko confirms this theory by stating that Xander's body had burn wounds on his left hand. Continuing on with the trial, Min seems pretty shocked to learn that Xander was coerced into making an attempt on Tereko's life by someone else, but that conversation gets quickly deterred by David, who, let's be honest, is probably the one who manipulated Xander into trying to kill Tereko, which I've mentioned in all my other Despair Time videos. The students get the idea that the killer was unprepared to kill Xander, but Rose says, "What kind of person would just be carrying large amounts of water around without planning a murder?" Which causes a light bulb to go off in Tereko's head. With this question from Rose, Tereko now knows exactly who killed Xander, and that person is none other than Min. Tereko asks Min if her cleaning from the night before involved water, and Min is very confused. Tereko explains that if Xander's murder was in fact spontaneous, but there was still huge spills of water at the crime scene, then the killer had to have been carrying large quantities of water beforehand. She deduces that Min's actions of cleaning the kitchen and going back and forth to the laundry room for supplies are the only ones that fit the description of needing large amounts of water. Everyone is quick to either question Tereko's evidence and or defend Min, with Min calling Tereko's statements weak evidence and nonsense, added with a flare of a hair flip and declaring that she did not kill Xander. Episode 10 ends with a non-stop debate where Min asks, "Are you saying that I chanced upon the murder scene by luck?" But Tereko is quick with her rebuttal, which is the evidence of the building's map. This leads us to Chapter 1, Episode 11. Who and Eden immediately start defending Min since she was cleaning the kitchen with them, with Eden saying she knows Min would never kill someone because she's a reasonable kind of girl. Min expresses her gratitude for Eden's defenses and says the evidence against her is even less conclusive than the evidence against Tereko and Charles, so everyone will find her innocent eventually. The students debate on Min's innocence as they play out how she would have committed the crime. They explain that Min, while getting water to clean, saw Xander with Tereko's body in the computer lab, doused him with the water she was holding, and then broke the light switch. However, they get stuck on how she was able to break the switch, especially if this murder was impulsive and unprompted. Tereko interrupts to say that Min likely had her pen, which was the weapon given to her at the beginning of the killing game. Ace gets riled up, calling Tereko stupid for thinking a pen could break a light switch, in which Min replies, "There is no need to get worked up, because I'll help everyone pick the right culprit. Right now, everyone suspects me, which is a mistake. But that's alright. Mistakes are meant to be fixed. Like filling out a multiple choice test. You bubble in answer after answer and sometimes get it wrong. If I let even one miscalculation slip by, then the life I worked so hard for will come crashing down in an instant. So I'll keep erasing these mistakes until they're correct. As long as I learn from my mistakes, as long as I make the correct choice in the end, that's how I'll achieve success. Tereko, I'm asking you to reconsider. Once again, I am not the culprit. Your evidence is shaky at best. If you were to think about this carefully, you'll see that it makes no sense for me to be Xander's murderer. Don't you remember? I stayed by your side when no one else did. Why would I put myself in such a precarious position if I were the killer? In addition, Ace is correct in asserting that a pen cannot be used to break open a light switch. I simply do not know where you got that absurd idea. Tereko explains that she saw Min's pen in her pocket during the investigation and it caught her attention because it's made of metal. Min says that the pen given to her was in her room the whole time and accuses Tereko of making up false memories to further support her theory. However, Tereko is proven right by RA, who earlier in the episode pickpocketed Min to retrieve the pen in question, where RA reveals that there there is a hidden switchblade in the pen. Min is completely shaken up when RA shows off the switchblade, both because she didn't notice RA pickpocketing her due to inattentional blindness, and also because this evidence makes her case look even worse. Everyone now starts to believe that Min is the killer, especially considering the fact that she lied about her pen, which causes Min to lose her composure. She says, I truly do not know what any of you are talking about. Your reasoning doesn't make any sense. It's simply illogical. None of this evidence adds up to anything. After calming down a bit, she admits to having the pen with her, but deflects by saying it's just a coincidence that her pen has a blade in it. Rose says to prove whether Min was at the crime scene or not, she can use chromatography to determine if Min's pen was also used to create the false out of order sign on the light switch, which causes Min once again to panic. With Rose's experiment, the students confirm that Min's pen was in fact the pen used to make the out of order sign, which confirms that Min is most likely the one who killed Xander. Min continues to panic, sobbing and trying to defend herself. She claims that the pen wasn't even hers, but eventually in her state of panic confesses by saying, I never wanted to kill him. It was a mistake. I swear. It doesn't count. When questioned about her admission of guilt, Min quickly goes back to deflecting by saying, You're making this up. All of you are just making everything up.
I wanted to save you.
Even with her pleas, Teriko says she must prove that Min killed Xander, leading to the Argument Ornament mini-segment, which was originally in the mainline Danganronpa games, where the prime suspect wears an outfit related to their talent and the protagonist must defend their argument against the suspect. In Min's case, she wears a graduation gown and cap and is holding a diploma. Someone in the comments section of this episode brings up a very good point about the symbolism of Min wearing a graduation outfit other than the obvious fact that she's the ultimate student. When Teriko slowly dismantles Min's argument in the minigame, Min loses her diploma, cap, and gown. This could be interpreted as Min losing her diplomacy and her right to graduate, meaning she can't leave the killing game and was found guilty. Teriko's final piece of evidence is that Min inverted her jacket before stabbing Xander in the throat to cover up the true cause of death, so she wouldn't be covered in blood. Min refuses to take off her jacket to prove Teriko right, but after everyone calls Min despicable and a murderer, Min fully confesses, saying,
I didn't mean to kill Xander.
She confesses that her plan was impulsive and that she wanted to save Teriko from being killed by Xander. However, she throws in another feeling she had into her confession that alludes to her murder plan being more about self-defense than just saving Teriko.
But the look Xander gave me, when he turned around, I knew that Xander would have killed me too.
Min confesses that her plan was merely to knock him out, but she didn't consider the consequences of her actions, which led to her electrocuting him with the light switch. She bursts into tears asking for everyone's forgiveness, but Teriko interrupts her to close her case once and for all.
A full admission of guilt. Your testimony gives me the final piece I need to clear up this case once and for all.
Min, Eden, and Hu were all in the kitchen together cleaning up the mess Teriko made by dropping a cake she baked with Eden, Min, and Rose. Min left to grab a bucket of water from the laundry room to clean up the mess. On her way back to the kitchen, she saw Charles run out of the computer lab in a panic because of his hemophobia. Being curious, Min went to see why he was fleeing the computer lab, which is when she saw Xander standing over Teriko's body. Xander saw Min, causing Min to act fast and douse him with the water in her hands. Min then turned the lights off and used the hidden switchblade in her pen to break off the light switch. Xander got up to turn the lights back on, but being unaware that the wiring was exposed, he touched the wires. Since he was drenched with water, he was killed by electrocution. Knowing now that Xander was dead, Min realized the only thing she could do now was attempt to beat the class trial and escape the killing game, leaving everyone else to die. So, she tried to pin the murder on Teriko by moving her body closer to Xander's and cleaning up the bloodstains from where Teriko was stabbed to make it appear as though Xander and Teriko got into a scuffle. She then put the light switch back and made an out-of-order sign out of a note in Xander's pocket. Lastly, to mask the real cause of death, she stabbed Xander with her switchblade pen in the throat, inverting her jacket to catch any bloodstains. She put the knife Xander had in Teriko's hand to complete her plan to frame Teriko as she walked back to the kitchen to continue cleaning with Hu and Eden.
That is the truth of this case. You murdered Xander and then tried to place the blame on me. Isn't that right, Min Jeung? the ultimate student.
Min is voted by her classmates as Xander's killer, except for 2 people who voted for Tereko. I've talked about this in some of my past videos, but the people most likely to have voted for Tereko are some combination of Min, David, RA, whoever the mastermind is, and Tereko herself. However, the theory I've stuck with is that Min and Tereko voted for Tereko. The students voted correctly, confirming that Min killed Xander. Min is seen sobbing as everyone expresses shock, betrayal, and anger towards Min. Rose asks why she dragged out the trial so long instead of just confessing, but Mono TV interrupts to say Min's execution will commence in a few minutes. The mention of her execution makes Min spiral down even further as she says,
I'm not going to die, am I? If I get executed, I'm going to die. But that's not going to happen, right? That won't happen because I don't want to die.
Min calls this unfair as she says she was trying to save Tereko and only intended to knock Xander unconscious, which Tereko immediately calls out her hypocrisy because she didn't confess until much later in the trial. Min says, I was afraid of dying. If you were in the same situation, you would have done the same. Tereko accuses Min of helping her during the investigation because of her fear of death and trying to throw everything off the course of the trial, with Tereko now viewing Min as a deceitful, selfish, and immoral person. Min gets even more upset because of Tereko's comments, with her saying, even I don't quite understand why I acted on such inexplicable feeling at the time, but I just had to know that you were alright. Tereko doesn't believe any of Min's comments of wanting to save her, saying fate will always intervene to keep her alive, which is why Min acted without knowing why. She says she owes Min absolutely nothing as Min continues to plead for her life. Min hugs Tereko as she continues to apologize as she doesn't want to die.
I just wanted to save you.
Tereko tells her to cut it out and that she can't stand her pleas.
I have no sympathy for someone like you whatsoever. Let go of me.
In her internal monologue, Tereko says, I had thought that if I had said such cruel words to Min, she'd let me go. I thought that she'd turn bitter and angry at the person she had sacrificed her life to save. I almost wished that she'd say that she hated me, but instead she held me even tighter. She held on as if I had somehow shown her some great act of kindness in the fleeting time before her death.
Min, let go.
Don't you understand, Min? I can't save you. You're going to die because of me.
I said, let go. Please, let go. Before
I grow attached once more. I have no choice but to watch you go. For the sake of my feelings and yours, we shouldn't have cared about each other. Finally, she let go. Now, both Tereko and Min are crying. Mono TV calls for Min's execution to begin, as Tereko says, Min, I never got to tell you.
Let's give it everything we've got. It's punishment time!
Min's last words are, I'm sorry, Tereko, as her execution commences.
Let the dogs out!
Min's execution, titled Thrown to the Dogs, starts with Mono TV pointing to a chalkboard that states, thrown to the dogs, an idiom meaning to discard someone as worthless. Min, sitting in a chair and with a table in front of her, is dropped into a strange room with books and torturous machinery. In front of her is an exam, which is where she is given the instructions. Answer within the time limit, write legibly, do not contest the results. The time limit is 5 seconds for each question, and the punishment for failing to answer the questions correctly is that she will lose her limbs. Min answers the first question with ease. How many vertebrae are in the average human spine, which is 24, as she moves on to the next question. Devise a solution to the Riemann hypothesis. Min writes NA, causing her to get the answer wrong. One of the machine hands grabs her right arm as another machine hand completely breaks her arm with a baseball bat. Now having to write with her non-dominant hand, Min panics to write the answer to the next question. Write down the major enzymes involved in the human renin-angiotensin system. Her answer is wrong again as a circular saw rises up and cuts her left arm clean off. With no functional arms, Min tries to write the next answer with her mouth, but her answer is unintelligible and one of her legs is shattered by the baseball bat. She is down to the final question, where the cost of it getting it wrong is her life. Min can barely get up as the timer reaches 0 and a trap door drops her below. Min is then surrounded by hungry, ravenous wolves as she is torn up, eaten alive, and thus thrown to the dogs. Min's execution is not only terrifying and gruesome, but also has a lot of symbolism to it. First off, the name, thrown to the dogs, like it says at the beginning of the execution, means to discard someone as worthless. As I've talked about in my past Despair Time videos and we'll discuss more in this video, Min suffers from imposter syndrome when it comes to her talent and also doesn't see much value in the long run in her talent. In a video that came out after this, it is revealed that before the killing game, Min expressed jealousy that her peers were going out into the real world and utilizing their talents for the betterment of humanity, whereas she stuck studying for exams as the ultimate student. Min's undervaluing of her talent means she doesn't see much use in her talent, playing into the idea of discarding something not of worth. Also, the execution calls Min worthless as she murdered someone and failed the class trial, feeding into her despair regarding her self-worth and value as a person, as well as making her feel extremely guilty for her actions, although they were, for the most part, in self-defense. Next, a majority of the questions used in her execution are meant to further bring despair to Min or to get an emotional reaction out of her, as they either have no correct answer or cannot be answered in a literal sense. Starting with the first question, how many vertebrae are in the average human spine, the interpretation I thought of for why this is the first question is some good old-fashioned sad irony. Asking Min a question about the human spine is ironic because it Min's pleas that her act of murdering Xander was a selfless act to save Tereko. However, Tereko outwardly says to her that what she did was horrible and selfish. Also, Min as a student prioritizes her education over everything else, sacrificing hobbies and probably relationships as well to maintain her ultimate talent. Thus, this question could be a dig calling Min spineless, and further trying to make her feel worthless before her death. Question 2, devise a solution to the Riemann hypothesis, refers to the theory or rule that allows mathematicians to easily find prime numbers and values. While it is a very important mathematical theory, it is only a theory, thus it has no definitive solution. Min wrote NA because there is literally no answer to the question. It is an impossible question meant to give Min despair. It's also interesting that one of the mathematicians who attempted to solve the theory was David Hilbert. While this could be just a reach, it's interesting that there is also a David in Despair Time, David Cheam, the ultimate inspirational speaker. Moving on to the third question about the human renin-angiotensin system. This system refers to renin, which converts itself into body chemicals responsible for narrowing blood vessels and also manages blood pressure and adrenal hormones. This process also causes sodium to be more absorbed in the human body, which allows more water to be absorbed in the body as well. This question most likely references the murder case in Chapter 1, with the blood referring to Charles' fear of blood and Xander's death, and the water part of the renin-angiotensin system referencing Min dumping water on Xander before killing him. This question could also reference the adrenaline Min is feeling before and during her execution. The fourth question is, list 10 reasons you deserve to live, which focuses more on Min's desperation. The question is full of irony as Min is terrified of dying and Tereko basically told her she deserved to die right before her execution started. Also, this question requires such a long and lengthy response, which is impossible in the 5-second time limit, playing into Min's despair, showing how cruel her execution is, and illustrating how in this killing game it is impossible to escape your demise. The final question asks Min to name the author of the novel Murder in the Kale Coach. The answer is Agatha Christie, as this novel is more commonly known as one of Agatha Christie's most critically acclaimed novels, Murder on the Orient Express. For those unfamiliar with the book, the Orient Express train is stopped by heavy snowfall with 16 somewhat notable or successful passengers inside, when all of a sudden a dead body is discovered with the victim having been stabbed to death. The protagonist, Private Detective Hercule Poirot, investigates the murder, where the prime suspect is a woman seen walking around wearing a red kimono near where the victim died. The big plot twist of the story is that all of the passengers had some involvement in the murder and its motive, including Hercule Poirot. As you can see, Murder on the Orient Express and Chapter 1 of Despair Time have an eerie amount of things in common. 16 notable and successful people, the passengers and the Ultimates, are trapped somewhere and find a dead body that was stabbed to death. The protagonist investigates the murder, and the prime suspect is a woman where the main evidence against them is a piece of clothing they were wearing. The other main piece of evidence in both stories is a piece of paper that was destroyed. And while not everyone in Despair Time was involved in Xander's murder, there are still many unanswered questions about his death, such as who told Xander to go after Tereko. However, I did say in my last Despair Time video that I think the cast all have some connection to the killing game, specifically connected to the whereabouts of Mai Akazaki, the ultimate question mark. In that video, I theorized that Mai could have possibly been killed and the students of Despair Time covered up her death, and the killing game show is their punishment. Lastly, the biggest piece of irony in Min's death is that in her execution, she must rely on the very thing she used to kill Xander with, a pen. This is the cherry on top of this execution to give Min maximum despair and make her feel guilty for killing someone, that she can't defend herself anymore as she meets her fate.
Hey, are you seriously zoning out again?
On July 30th, 2021, the Despair Time YouTube channel released bonus episode 1, A History of Hope's Peak. The description of the video describes bonus episodes as extra content that features backstory and various sides of characters that aren't otherwise seen in Despair Time. They are canonical but not plot important. It is not necessary to watch this to understand the plot of DRDT. The episode is told from the point of view of an unnamed student as Min tries to help her study for a test about the history of Hope's Peak Academy. Throughout the episode, we see Min's prowess in test-taking and studying as she gives the unnamed student tips on how to study for exams, specifically to remember years when events happen and by giving her literal reminders to remember certain answers. Min also tells the unnamed student to suck up to Hope's Peak Academy in the essay question by talking about how amazing it is to be at Hope's Peak. When the unnamed student calls her cool, Min gets all flustered, but starts to get insecure, saying, "Yeah, that's all I'm good for, I suppose. Nothing but a student." The unnamed student notices her somber tone and asks if she's okay. Min says,
I feel like I'm wasting my time doing this. No, I mean, the both of us are wasting our time.
Min expresses envy towards her fellow Ultimates who are all out enriching their talents, while the unnamed student and her are studying for a history test. She says as of late, she has no idea what she's doing with her life, and she feels like she has no career path laid out for her like the other Ultimates do. When the unnamed student tries to reassure her that being the Ultimate student is a real talent, Min denies her validation by saying she's not a real Ultimate because she wasn't scouted out by the Academy like most Ultimates. Min explains that she took a test to become the Ultimate student as 13 years ago, Hope's Peak announced the ultimate contest for eminent student. The Academy declared in this announcement that 12 years from then, any high school student who met certain requirements would be eligible to take the test. The announcement was made when Min was 5 years old, so in 12 years, she would be 17, making her eligible. The test was a single comprehensive test that covered all subjects, and whoever got the highest score would be given the title of the ultimate student and would be allowed to attend Hope's Peak Academy when they graduated high school. She then starts explaining how she ended up taking the test. Her family was quite poor, but one day they were visited by the founder of a big tech company, XF Tech. He told Min's parents that he would sponsor Min and pay for the expenses so she could take the test. All he asked for in return was that Min would pass the test and win the title of the ultimate student. So, Min took the test 12 years later and received her ultimate title. The unnamed student is curious as to why Hope's Peak announced the contest 12 years before it would even take place, as Min responds, "Because they wanted the contest to hang over the heads of kids like me for 12 years, from childhood all the way into high school. They wanted to single out those who were obsessive enough to spend their entire lives preparing for this one test from childhood. I don't know why that man would sponsor some random child, nor why it would be me of all people, and I never had the time nor space to figure out the answer to that question. Failure was not something I even considered, because if I failed, then there would be no future for me or my family. I had simply accepted for my whole life that I would be the ultimate student, and I lived my life accordingly. That's why the Academy chose me. To tell the truth, I doubt I was even the top scorer on that test. I'm sure I did amazingly well, but it seems highly unlikely that I was number one in terms of raw scores. I was selected as the ultimate student not because of my academic performance nor my intelligence, but because I had grown into their ideal of an ultimate student. Because of this contest, because I wanted to win, I had let my entire life revolve around that one test. High achievement, studying, taking exams, being the top performer in my class. I cut everything else out of my life for that one goal, and that is exactly what they wanted to see. The ultimate contest for eminent students was made for a very specific target audience. Those children who had no talents, who would consider spending their entire lives preparing for one single test for even a chance to become an ultimate. Min goes on to explain how being an ultimate is viewed as a prestigious title, meaning that the entire nation trusts you to build a better future. She then says, "In the end, what the Academy wanted wasn't to select the most intelligent person nor the best test taker, but to conduct an experiment to see if someone would force themselves to become their idea of an ultimate for the Academy's sake and succeed. That's why my ultimate talent is useless. It only exists because Hope's Peak Academy wants it to. If Hope's Peak never existed, then all my classmates would still have their talents. They would still be athletes and musicians and doctors. But for me, if Hope's Peak never existed and I never took that test, then I would just be another talentless nobody. ability. The unnamed student interrupts her and says that her ultimate talent isn't the only important or good thing about her, as she lists a bunch of cute or quirky things Min does, and reassures her that she has her whole life ahead of her. Min says that she has an idea of what to do now when she graduates, saying that she wants to help people like how the unnamed student helped her. She says she wants to become a teacher, and she says she may be as good as a mysterious him, but she wants to help others, so that maybe one day she'll be happy with herself.
She made a choice to kill, and she paid her price. The same happened with Xander.
Min's execution shakes up the entire cast of Despair Time. Everyone is either crying or shaking, but noticeably, the two who are the least horrified are Levi and Whit. I didn't mention this fact in my past Despair Time videos, so better late than never. For those who haven't seen those videos of mine, I think Levi is the Chapter 2 killer, and it will be revealed that he has killed someone in the past, possibly more than one. The theory I came up with in my Unsolved Mysteries is that Levi used to be an intimidating, profiling hitman before being disowned by his family, and now he uses his ability to read people to understand people's personalities through fashion. Levi's calm nature upon seeing Min get brutally executed is likely due to his past of crime and seeing death firsthand often, and he even brings this up in the very next episode to Eden when he says he's not very good at grieving. Moving on to Whit, he is my #1 pick to be the mastermind of the killing game for a number of reasons, but his nonchalant expression when Min dies makes me believe he's behind the killing game even more. Of course, there is a possibility that Whit handles grief in a more lighthearted way, which makes sense for his character, but at the same time it would also make sense for a seemingly immature, naive, or good-hearted character to be horrified at the sight of their peer being eaten alive by wolves. The true icing on the cake of the reactions to Min's death that really sets the story on a new path is David's. He fully denounces hope in this situation and says,
You're all certainly going to die here.
However, after David leaves, Tereko starts to laugh. She scoffs at everyone's scared reactions to Min's execution, saying they all knew she was going to die because they all voted for her as the killer. Eden interrupts Tereko, saying even though Min tried to frame her, nobody, including Min, deserves the fate that Min got. Tereko continues by saying Min had it coming, and after Min betrayed her and everyone at first was on board with voting Tereko as the killer, Tereko declares that she will never trust anyone ever again. At the end of Chapter 1, Episode 12, Despair Time includes an Easter egg to the mainline Danganronpa games by including a prize at the end of the trial. What is the prize? Min's blood-stained jacket. This brings us to the start of Chapter 2. Eden starts off the first episode by talking to herself about how devastating witnessing Xander and Min's deaths were for the entire cast. She then tells herself to stay positive and focus on getting everyone still alive out of the killing game. Later on, Levi joins her in the kitchen to make breakfast as they discuss how to handle everything after Min and Xander died. After everyone wakes up, people are more skeptical than they were before Chapter 1 ended, with multiple people assuming Eden and Levi poisoned the breakfast meal they cooked for everyone, and everyone else sulking because of what happened the day before. Eden says, "As I thought, the atmosphere is much darker now." Mono TV announces the next motive of revealing everyone's deepest, darkest secrets with the ambiance of little paper dolls of Xander and Min. Noticeably, Min's doll is crying. Naturally, as she was the one betrayed by Min, the most affected by her death is Tereko. After the motive is revealed, Tereko monologues to everyone about how she will not try to end the killing game with everyone else, and how she knows because of her bad luck that nobody is going to survive the killing game. Tereko feels even more distrustful of everyone after Min's death and continually pushes people away from her and tells people that it's not worth their energy to apologize and forgive in the killing game, like how she tells Levi to not apologize to Ace for his outburst in the trial because according to Tereko, Ace is a dead man walking no matter what. When Tereko investigates the gym, she has a minor outburst as Ace retorts back at Levi, who is trying to apologize for threatening him in the trial by saying, "Oh, and I'm sure Min regrets killing Xander, but that doesn't change the fact that they both— Shut up!" During Chapter 2, Episode 3, Eden reminisces about her, Rose, Tereko, and Min baking together, but she then gets really sad talking about how that fun little happy memory spiraled to Min killing Xander and Min getting executed. But even if their baking get-together went perfectly, no one would have stopped Xander and Tereko would be dead. She notes, "Why is it that the only time I saw Min smiling, she was unwittingly causing her own death?" 2 episodes later, RA blames Min's death on Eden due to the baking activity. Eden tries to to say that Min was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and this all happened because Xander chose to do something horrible. Ari then says, if you never tried to do that stupid baking thing, Min would still be standing here. She never would have made that critical mistake of wanting to help others. Do you get it? You're responsible for her death. After Min died, you washed your hands clean of your involvement and said, there's nothing I could have done about it, right? You tried to make everyone feel bad for you by pretending to be all weepy and sad about Min's death. Eden breaks down in tears saying, I didn't want Min to die. She was happy then, when we were together. Ari continuously bullies Eden and blames her for Min's death until Eden runs out of the room sobbing. Ari then starts to break down after revealing her secret that she framed her older sisters for everything she could think of to get them sent to a reform school, in which Tereko says in her inner monologue, the pitiful crying. It reminds me of... And while Tereko never finishes this sentence, it's safe to assume she may be talking about Min. Min isn't mentioned too much in the next few episodes, except for Wit making a horrible joke saying Min's execution should be put on DVD and added to Veronica's horror movie collection, which Charles rightfully gets pretty mad at him for. Tereko says it's fine, and that she doesn't have the right to say how people should talk about Min, or to say whether people can talk about her in general. When Ari's dead body is found and everyone starts investigating, Tereko immediately reprimands anyone who tries to give any sort of input because of how Min helped her investigate, but in reality was the killer. When the investigation is over, Mono TV reveals all 16 of the secrets, meaning that one of those secrets belongs to Min, despite her being dead. During the class trial, the secret that was assigned to Min was, you're constantly blaming yourself for the death of your parents and siblings. It doesn't matter that it's not your fault, just that you didn't go with them. Later on in the trial, Jay brings up a very interesting point about the seriousness of murder, saying, but does that mean we should have let them deceive us past the class trial and get us all killed? Like, Jay is having her where is the justice moment.
Let the corporations make the regulations.
Later on in episode 10, Eden blames herself for Ari's death and says, just like Min, meaning that she blames herself for her death as well. And lastly, in chapter 2, episode 11, when David's true personality is about to be revealed, he says he got distracted by thinking about the last trial, how Min was accused of murder by everyone, and even when she realized that her case was finished, she kept fighting. She kept arguing and yelling and crying that she was innocent, even when no one believed in her, even when it made her guiltier.
At that time, watching Min, I kept thinking... how utterly pathetic she was.
She should have realized that she was wasting her energy with that sad performance. The only thing she accomplished was gathering pity. And then later on, after fully exposing himself as a lying, manipulative, scumbaggy piece of shit, he says, it's a wonder that we survived the last trial, although admittedly you did have Min's stupidity working in your favor. As of right now, this is the last time Min is mentioned in Danganronpa Despair Time. Now, let's move on to the analysis and impact of her character.
I just wanted to save you.
Min is honestly one of the most interesting Chapter 1 killers in a Danganronpa-related project in my personal opinion. The mainline Danganronpa games set a precedent for the Chapter 1 killer to most likely be someone who is disrespectful, crude, and their motive for murder would be to escape the killing game for a selfish reason or to see their family. Well, except for Kaede, but I'll talk about her in a second. Some fangans also followed suit with this precedent, such as the ultimate misogynistic asshole, soccer player, Mitch from Danganronpa Another, who killed Kyoka in that game because of the motive given to him at the beginning of the game, which was that if he didn't commit murder, get this, soccer would no longer exist. I know his motive video also showed his team back home going missing, and he was probably really good friends with them, but still, of all things you would commit murder for, soccer? Other examples include Hajime in the sequel of Danganronpa Another, who committed a murder because he was a part of an evil organization with the mastermind of the killing game, Makoto Shinoji, which could be seen as selfish. I'm gonna be honest, I need to watch more fangans, and hopefully I'll make videos about them. I already plan on making videos about Labs, Heartless Deceit, and more. Unlike the typical Chapter 1 killer in Danganronpa or its fan-made versions, Min is a surprisingly sympathetic killer. If I had to compare her to another Chapter 1 killer, the closest would be Kaede of Danganronpa V3. For those unfamiliar, Kaede Akamatsu was the original protagonist of V3, but was revealed as the first killer as she killed Rentaro because she thought he was the mastermind and genuinely wanted to help everyone by ending the killing game. However, it's revealed later on in V3 that Kaede didn't even kill Rentaro and was basically executed for no reason. There's a fantastic video on YouTube about Kaede's importance to the story of V3 made by VIXX Media, so I'd recommend you go watch it, but to sum up, Kaede represents the magic of the Danganronpa series that sparks interest to audiences. The replacement protagonist, Suichi Saihara, represents the staleness of the Danganronpa series if the magic is gone, and the mastermind of V3, Tsumugi Shirogane, enforces the tropes and thus makes Danganronpa no longer unique or fun for anyone, and how that magic will be lost if the series continues. The stereotypes and tropes arguably are my least favorite part of Danganronpa and fangans because they become so formulaic so quickly. Like, okay, selfish character kills important mysterious character with big secret and sad story kills a character weaker than them, unhinged character with fucked up motivations kills two people, buff character dies, lore-filled and difficult trial that severely impacts the story, mastermind revealed, hope versus despair, hope wins, woohoo! While these tropes can be utilized for predictions, analysis, and more, like I totally used these tropes to discuss my predictions for fangans in the past, Danganronpa Despair Time is intentionally subverting the expectations of these tropes, like the cheerful protagonist-like character being the antagonist's rival figure, the protagonist being an anti-hero who doesn't want to escape the killing game, the support character being arrogant yet fragile at times, so on and so forth. Min subverts the idea of a Chapter 1 killer, as did Kaede in the official Danganronpa series. The first killer tends to oftentimes be forgettable according to the fandom, and more often than not, their execution is more impactful than the character themselves. I'm looking at you, 1137. Min's character, motives, and death are incredibly impactful to the story of Despair Time, and the characters grieve her throughout Chapter 2 along with Xander. In the Danganronpa series, the first killer who is grieved over the most once again is Kaede. Like Kaede, Min was close when nearly everyone wanted to help others and most of all wanted to end the killing game. Of course, you can interpret Min's actions however you want regarding whether her murdering Xander was based in self-interest or trying to help Teriko, but either way, based on what Min said, she killed Xander both in self-defense and to save Teriko. This added connection to Teriko further adds more impact to the story overall, Teriko's character arc, and how the killing game will continue. Min being the first killer shocked everyone in the trial, as they all couldn't believe someone as intelligent as her would commit such an impulsive wrong place, wrong time type of murder, but Despair Time ultimately teaches both the characters and the audience to expect the unexpected. In regards to Teriko's arc, Min being the murderer was truly the final straw for Teriko's ability to trust others. Combine that with her past, Xander stabbing her, and everyone accusing her of killing Xander at the start of the Chapter 1 trial, Teriko feels as though trusting others will only lead to getting betrayed over and over again. Lastly, everyone saw how gruesome Min's execution was and how she felt before her death, thus changing the Despair Time killing game forever. Min's execution was excruciating and brutal, leaving the entire cast with despair, showed in how quickly certain characters lost hope after witnessing Min die. This got me to thinking if Despair Time were to follow the tropes to a T, who would be the first killer? Most likely, it would be someone like Ace. As like Leon, Mitch, and Hajime, he is a hot-headed athlete who is scared of dying. However, Ace is such an interesting character that I'd love to analyze soon, and I'm glad he's getting more time to be developed as a character. Continuing on to more of Min's roles in the story, Min also serves as a false support character. Xander is also a false support character, but in a different way compared to Min. At first, Min seems like the perfect archetype for the support character in Danganronpa and its fan-made counterparts. The studious, quiet girl whose talent and belief and hope and determination will lead the protagonist and all the other ultimates to end the killing game. Exactly like Kyoko, Chiaki, and Maki. Despite this, Danganronpa has done a false support character before with the existence of the very first victim of Danganronpa, Sayaka Maizono. However, in the case of Sayaka, she tried to kill Leon and frame it on the protagonist, Makoto, but she ended up getting killed instead. Leon in the trial tried to make it seem like his act was one of self-defense, but he is quickly called out by Celeste, saying that since Sayaka locked the bathroom door, or so she thought, the door couldn't lock but got stuck quite easily. Leon had every opportunity to stop what he was doing, and if he was still scared of losing his life, he could run back to his room and lock the door. But Leon broke into the bathroom and stabbed stabbed her to death. Despair Time subverts the similarities between Sayaka and Leon's case and Xander and Min's by making Min's actions appear to be interpreted as self-defense, and Xander's plan to hurt and betray the protagonist was not only a lot more deadly, but also not what he wanted to do. Thus, Xander and Min are both false support characters who both ended up hurting Terako more than helping her, and then made space for the real support characters, which as of right now are Charles, Rose, and Eden. Speaking of Xander, it's important to note that Min and Xander are foils for each other. Most notably, their talents are on opposing sides of the spectrum of people in school, the ultimate rebel and the ultimate student. Now, Xander's talent as the ultimate rebel doesn't mean that he's a delinquent. He's more of a Robin Hood type rebel where he rebels against injustice and has gotten many corrupt politicians and public figures in jail. Xander is also always full of optimism and energy, with his eyes even becoming fiery when he gets pumped up about something. Min, on the other hand, is more subdued, hides herself in her bangs, and steers focus to only studying. When they first meet, Xander gets upset that Min dedicates her life to schoolwork, saying Min just proves everything that is wrong with the education system. Min doesn't outwardly reject the education system, especially at Hope's Peak, even saying to butter up the academy in any essay question in her bonus episode. This shows the other theme of Xander and Min's character comparison, rebellion versus obedience. However, the very interesting thing about Xander and Min being foils and accentuating each other's personality traits is that the personality traits of the other are present in themselves the whole time. In History of Hope's Peak, Min expresses her sadness that she feels she's wasted her life to become the ultimate student and doesn't have any future out in the real world. And she, in a way, blames Hope's Peak and the ultimate contest for that. Xander, on the other hand, actually idolizes Hope's Peak and is ecstatic to have an ultimate talent. So when Xander commits the hypocritical act of attempting to murder Terako, it is somewhat ironic that Min is the one to kill him. Lastly, although I discussed this in my video about David, I wanted to bring up my prediction for what Min's secret is. I believe her secret is, you've always treated the competition with ruthlessness, but poisoning them to win was a bit too far, wasn't it? Min's story of how she got her talent and the feelings of guilt she has towards her talent makes me believe that the tech CEO, in one way or another, made Min win the contest by any means necessary. I believe Min is well aware of the fact that she didn't win the contest with her knowledge alone, which is in part why she feels imposter syndrome towards her talent, and this will be revealed to the rest of the cast whether in the Chapter 2 trial or later on in the story. All in all, Min's impact on the story of Danganronpa Despair Time is certainly one that won't be going anywhere soon.
If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the bell for notifications. Comment down below any thoughts you have on Min's character, any ideas for topics you'd like to see me cover, and what you'd like to see in Danganronpa Despair Time next. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much!